Imagine, imagine getting a promotion at work.
Right, the dream.
Yeah, exactly. The dream. You get a solid raise, maybe an extra $1,000 a month, and you think you finally made it.
Sure.
But what if that exact moment, like that literal raise, is the precise trigger that actually ruins your financial life?
It sounds so backwards, but yeah.
Right. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a source that argues the financial rat race isn't it's not necessarily something you're born into. It's a trap you actively upgrade yourself into every single time you get a bigger paycheck.
Yeah, it completely flips conventional wisdom on its head.
It really does. So for everyone listening, what are we actually looking at today?
Well, we're dissecting a transcript from the YouTube channel English Avenue, and they're breaking down the core philosophies of Robert Kiyosaki's legendary book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right.
And, the premise here isn't just about, it's not about making a budget or clipping coupons.
No.
It's about tearing down these invisible scripts we've all been taught regarding money. And examining why the traditional path to success often leads straight to, chronic financial anxiety.
And that's our mission for this deep dive.
Huh.
We want to help you, the listener, basically completely dismantle a mindset of scarcity and rebuild it around the actual mechanics of financial freedom.
Exactly.
And the source sets this up through this really compelling lens, right? It's a story of a young boy growing up with two completely conflicting father figures.
Yeah, the contrast is what makes the whole underlying theory so clear. So you have poor dad, who is the boy's actual biological father.
Right.
And the fascinating thing is this guy did everything society tells you to do. I mean, he's highly educated.
Yeah.
He holds a super secure government job as a teacher.
Yep, the safe route.
Right. Yet, he's constantly stressed out, living paycheck to paycheck, and he basically operates under this core belief that money is the root of all evil.
Wow, okay. And then on the flip side, you have the alternative operating system, which is Rich Dad. And this is the father of the boy's best friend. And he's largely uneducated in the formal academic sense.
Yeah, no fancy diplomas on the wall.
Right. But he's a business owner. He is entirely at ease with his finances. And his governing philosophy is that the lack of money is the root of all evil.
You can just see the immediate cognitive dissonance there.
Oh, totally. It's like being a kid and trying to run two completely different operating systems in your brain at the exact same time.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But, looking at this, it's wild that the educated father is the one struggling. What is the fundamental disconnect here?
So the source establishes this right away. It's the difference between formal education and financial education.
Okay.
Poor dad's entire life is built on trading his time and his expertise for a wage. Like he works for money.
Right. Trading time for dollars.
Exactly. But rich dad operates on a completely different plane. His focus isn't on acquiring a wage. It's on building systems that make money work for him.
But let's dig into why poor dad's path is so inherently flawed. Because the path of getting a degree and a safe job, that's the exact blueprint almost everyone listening to this was handed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So why does the source argue this leads directly into what it calls the rat race?
Well, the rat race is essentially this infinite loop of consumption that's disguised as progress.
Disguised as progress.
Yeah.
That's a good way to phrase it.
Right. The source breaks down the mechanics. You go to school, you get a good job, and you start earning an income.
Sure.
And the immediate societal expectation right then is to start accumulating these markers of adulthood.
Like buying a house.
Yeah, buying a house, financing a car.
You essentially start collecting bills.
Exactly.
Right.
Because those markers of success, they're fundamentally debt instruments.
Why? Yeah, they are.
They come with mortgages, auto loans, property taxes, insurance, maintenance costs. So your baseline operating expenses just shoot up.
Okay, so then what happens?
Well, when your expenses rise, the logical, almost biological reaction is that you have to work harder to pay for them.
Right, you need more money.
Yep. And the source makes this really profound observation. People trapped in this cycle, they honestly believe they're working for themselves, for their own security.
But they aren't.
Mechanically, no. They're working for their employer, they're working for the government through income taxes, and they're working for the bank through interest payments.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are basically the engine powering everyone else's wealth.
That is heavy. And the source illustrates it with a really specific example, right? There's this guy named John.
Right, John.
So John earns $3,000 a month. And he's doing okay, but then he gets a promotion. Now he's making $4,000 a month.
A great day for John.
You'd think.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of taking that new $1,000 and saving it or doing something productive, John experiences lifestyle creep.
The silent killer.
Yeah. He decides, I deserve a bigger house,
Right.
or he goes and leases a luxury car, and instantly his monthly expenses inflate to match his new $4,000 income.
And the crazy part is, culturally, John looks like a massive success.
Oh, yeah. His neighbors see the new car, his family sees the bigger house.
But on a balance sheet, John is actually in a more precarious position than he was before.
He's totally trapped.
Completely trapped. He's just servicing a higher level of debt.
Wait, I want to push back on this on behalf of the listener for a second.
Sure, go for it.
So, getting a raise can actually be dangerous if your mindset is wrong. I always thought of it like a treadmill. Getting a raise is just turning up the speed on the treadmill, but you aren't actually stepping off it to go anywhere.
That's spot on. You're running faster, but you're in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
And the source argues that stepping off that treadmill doesn't start with, like, a spreadsheet. It actually starts with linguistics.
Linguistics, like the words we use.
Exactly. It starts with how your brain physically processes financial friction.
Oh, wow.
Think about what happens when you encounter something you want, but you don't have the cash for. Poor Dad's default reflex is a statement. He says, I can't afford it.
Okay, yeah, we've all said that.
Right. But the source points out that the second those words leave your mouth, your brain just shuts down.
Oh, because it accepts defeat.
Precisely. It doesn't have to burn any calories trying to solve the problem. But Rich Dad, he never uses a statement. He uses a question. He says, how can I afford it?
That forces a totally different neurological pathway.
It forces the brain to hunt for solutions. It triggers active problem solving.
Right.
Mechanically, your mind has to start looking at the environment differently. It asks, can I cut an unnecessary expense? Could I build a new skill to increase my value?
Is there a side hustle I can start?
Exactly. The question, how can I afford it, literally forces you out of this passive state of acceptance into an active state of wealth creation.
But, okay, knowing how to afford something is kind of useless if your brain is solving for the wrong variables, right?
What do you mean?
Well, if John's answer to how can I afford it was just take out a massive loan for a bigger house, he still loses.
Oh, 100%.
So we need to look at what the source says we're actually supposed to be acquiring. And this requires totally dismantling and redefining two very basic words, assets and liabilities.
Yes. If you take away only one concept from this whole deep dive, it should be this redefinition.
Let's lay it out.
So in traditional accounting, an asset can be incredibly complex, right? You've got depreciation schedules and intangible goodwill.
Stuff that puts most people to sleep.
Exactly. But the source strips all of that away and focuses purely on cash flow. The rule is brutally simple.
Okay, what's the rule?
An asset puts money into your pocket, regardless of whether you're actively working.
Okay.
And a liability takes money out of your pocket.
Wow, okay. Let's apply that to the real world because the source uses this really great $10,000 experiment to prove the point.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
So let's say you have 10 grand, stereo one.
Yeah.
You buy a car. The moment you drive it off the lot, the mechanics of depreciation just kick in.
It loses value immediately.
Right. And then you factor in the fuel, the mandatory insurance, the inevitable maintenance. By this cash flow definition, the car is a massive liability.
It's a machine that requires a constant influx of your capital just to exist.
Exactly. But then look at scenario two. Someone takes that same $10,000, but instead of a car, they buy a piece of commercial land or maybe a small parking lot.
Okay.
And they lease it out for $200 a month.
Let's look at the mechanics of that.
Yeah?
The land itself might appreciate in value over a decade due to scarcity or zoning changes. But more importantly,
That $200 lease payment arrives every single month.
every month. And it outpaces inflation because you can periodically raise the rent.
So that land is an asset.
It is actively pushing capital into your pocket while you sleep.
The source actually scales this concept up by comparing two hypothetical families.
Right, family A and family B.
Yeah. So both families earn $5,000 a month. Family A takes all $5,000 and feeds it directly into liabilities and living expenses. Rent, food, entertainment, car payments.
At the end of the month, their bank account is totally empty.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Family B decides to live slightly below their means.
A radical concept.
Right. So they spend $4,000 on living expenses, and they take that remaining $1,000 and they purchase assets. In the source's example, they buy dividend-paying stocks.
Which is essentially buying a tiny slice of a massive profitable company.
Correct. And because they own that slice, the company shares its profits with them in the form of a dividend.
Yeah, and over time, Family B keeps buying more slices.
And those dividends grow from $500 a month, then to $1,000, then $4,000 a month.
And that's the critical inflection point.
And the passive income completely covers their living expenses.
At that precise moment, Family B is financially free. They no longer have to trade their time for a wage.
While Family A, who earned the exact same initial income, is still running in the rat race.
Yeah.
I like to visualize assets as hiring tiny employees.
Oh, I like that.
Every dollar you push into an investment account or real estate is like hiring a tiny worker. And their only job is to work 24/7, no vacations, to go out into the economy and recruit more tiny workers for you.
That's the compounding effect in a nutshell.
Exactly. But I want to ask you about something that comes up a lot. Because I'm looking at this source, and I'm thinking about the American dream, right?
The house.
The house. The literal cornerstone of wealth building for the middle class is supposed to be your primary residence. My mortgage breaker, my parents, basically society at large, all say your house is your biggest asset.
Yeah.
But based on this source, isn't that a dangerous illusion? How does the source justify tearing down that belief?
Well, it justifies it by forcing you to look at the math rather than the emotion.
Okay.
We are culturally conditioned to view a primary residence as the ultimate financial achievement, but apply that cash flow rule we just talked about.
It takes money out of your pocket.
Exactly. You buy a house, now you have a 30-year mortgage with interest, you have annual property taxes.
No owner's insurance.
Right. You have to replace the roof, fix the plumbing, paint the exterior.
It is relentlessly pulling money out of your pocket.
Relentlessly. Now, if you buy a house and you rent it out to a tenant and their rent covers the mortgage, the taxes, the maintenance, and leaves you with a profit margin,
Then it's an asset.
then mechanically that house is an asset. But the house you live in is a liability. It consumes your capital.
Wow.
The source's core philosophy here is that the wealthy buy true assets first. Businesses, equities, real estate that generates yield.
And what about luxuries?
They only buy luxuries like a massive primary residence or a sports car, using the passive income generated by their actual assets.
So the asset pays for the luxury, not your sweat and blood.
Exactly. The asset pays for it.
Okay, the math here is grade school simple. Buy things that pay you, don't buy things that cost you.
Right.
So if the equation is that obvious, why doesn't everyone do it? Why are we hardwired to fail at this?
Because human beings don't make financial decisions using math.
We use emotion.
We make them using emotion. And the source argues that most people operate on this deeply ingrained psychological autopilot, driven entirely by two twin saboteurs.
Fear and greed.
Fear and greed.
Let's unpack the fear side first, because I think that's the most paralyzing one for a lot of people.
Yeah, fear is the baseline emotion for most people regarding money. It's that visceral terror of not being able to pay the rent or losing health insurance or just societal embarrassment.
Absolutely.
And that fear is exactly what keeps people clinging to jobs they absolutely hate. They are too terrified to take a risk or start a business because the perceived safety of that biweekly paycheck acts as like a psychological shield against the terror.
But then you have the flip side, which is greed, or maybe desire is a better word.
Desire, yeah.
Because consumerism offers immediate dopamine. It's the belief that a bigger house or a new car will somehow buy respect and happiness.
And as we established with John, chasing that desire mechanically leads directly to more stress and more expenses.
It traps you.
It does. It traps you tighter in the fear of losing your job because now you have more bills to pay. It's a self-feeding loop.
The source actually provides a brilliant litmus test to see which emotion is driving you. It's called the $1,000 test.
Oh, I love this part.
Right. If you hand a consumer $1,000, their immediate chemical response is desire. The brain lights up thinking about the gadgets or entertainment they can extract from that money.
A new phone, a weekend trip, clothes.
Exactly. The money is instantly converted into a liability.
But if you hand an investor $1,000, their brain bypasses desire entirely. They look at that money as raw material.
They ask, how can I use this to make more money?
Yes. It's a completely different lens on the world.
I was thinking about it like walking through a busy city. A consumer looks at a really popular cafe and thinks, oh, that looks like a great place to buy a $6 coffee.
Right.
An investor looks at the exact same cafe, sees the same line of people, and their brain asks, what does this business need to succeed and how could I own one?
They see an economic system, not just a product.
Exactly. But I want to ask you, how does the source say we actually overcome this fear? especially when the stakes feel so high for the average person. I mean, if your whole paycheck is going to rent and groceries, telling someone to buy assets feels a bit out of touch.
The source addresses this directly. The expectation isn't that you just instantly overcome fear through sheer willpower.
Right.
The source states that knowledge is the literal antidote to fear.
Knowledge.
Yeah. The rich feel fear too. They aren't robots, but they can act through the fear because they understand the mechanics of money.
Meaning they aren't just guessing.
Precisely. To someone without financial literacy, the stock market feels like a rigged casino.
Oh, totally terrifying.
And the tax code feels like a weapon. But the source urges listeners to actively study these systems, learn about taxes, learn how to legally pay less, study the markets, study investments.
So you strip the terrifying mystery away from wealth building.
Exactly. You replace the superstition with actual mechanics.
Okay, let's say someone listening has the knowledge. They understand assets, they get cash flow. They're actively suppressing that consumer dopamine.
They're ready.
But they're paralyzed by the when. They're waiting for a perfect moment, or they think they need a massive pile of cash to start.
Yeah, that's a huge roadblock. But the source is emphatic here. There is no perfect time.
It's a myth.
It is a myth designed to keep you inactive. The power lies in small wins and patience.
There's a specific detail in the source about the young woman starting with just $50.
Yes.
She didn't wait until she had 10 grand. She took $50 to buy small fractional shares just to build her confidence for bigger risks later.
And we should highlight the analogy the source uses there. Building wealth is like growing a tree.
How so?
You plant a seed, you water it, you protect it, and you wait. You don't yell at the dirt on Wednesday expecting fruit by Friday.
Right, it takes patience.
It requires a fundamental shift in your time horizon.
And a total reframing of failure, too.
Oh, definitely.
Because the poor avoid failure. In school, failure is a mark of shame. But the rich view it as data.
It's an iterative loop. The source shares that story of the businessman who failed 5 times.
Right.
Society called him a fool, told him to get a safe job. But he looked at the mechanical reasons he failed, extracted the data, and on his 6th try, he built a wildly successful company.
Which is wild because normally critics are going to be loud when you fail, but those critics are usually just projecting their own anxieties.
Exactly.
When people say that's too risky, they're speaking from their fears, not yours.
You have to protect your mindset from the fear of the crowd.
But as we get to the end of the source material, there's a surprising twist on wealth. Rich Dad's final counterintuitive lesson.
Yeah, it really shifts the perspective. He reveals that the richest people are those who give back.
Giving back. Yeah. Like philanthropy.
The source details a wealthy man who started a scholarship fund. And mechanically, that looks like a liability, right? Money is leaving his pocket. But it didn't just help others. It multiplied his own success. It built immense goodwill, fulfillment, and it expanded his network with other influential people.
So it's not just hoarding gold in a vault. It's about circulating value.
Exactly. It brings the whole philosophy full circle.
Well, let's summarize the key takeaways for everyone listening. Synthesizing all of this, financial freedom isn't about getting a massive salary.
Not at all.
It's about shifting from a consumer to an investor, paying yourself first, turning your focus to acquiring assets rather than liabilities, and refusing to let fear keep you on that treadmill of the rat race.
And just remembering that money is merely a tool. It's not the end goal.
Right.
The actual goal is freedom. The freedom to live life on your own terms and spend time with the people you actually care about.
Which brings me to a final provocative thought I want to leave you all with today.
Let's hear it.
The source tells us the ultimate goal of all this asset building is freedom. But here is something to ask yourself today. If your passive income covered all your expenses tomorrow, and you were totally free to do whatever you wanted, what exactly would you do on day one?
Wow, that's a huge question.
Right. Most people spend their whole lives playing for the money, but they never actually plan for the freedom. Have you?
That's something to really think about.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Start small, look at the world like an owner today, and never stop learning. We'll catch you next time.